Check 2. Check 3. Check 4. Who's that at the door? It's Bob, Rob, Can, Trell, Cannabis, Coffee, Hour. Can't you tell? This is gonna be fun. You're number 1. I took a number 2. I did it on my shoe. I scraped it off with a stick. It was kinda ick. But you know the funk has got to flow. You get the shit off your shoes and then you go on with your do. 'Cause even roses smell like poo. Cannabis Coffee Hour. How are you, everybody? We are doing it again and again. I'm not worried about the win. I'm worried about the one. I'm not worried. Strange days indeed. Oh, strange days indeed. Nobody told me there would be days like these. Nobody told me there'd be days like these. Strange days indeed. Ah, strange days indeed. What's up? What's poppin'? Brand new whip. Just hop in. I'm just all over the map. We're going to talk music. We're going to talk cannabis. I'm strictly on CBD only flower. So this is just straight CBD flower, and it is a sativa. And my friend gave it to me. He gave it a bunch of it free. He was like, man, this is the CBD flower. Somebody gave it to him that was growing it for a business up in, I think, Massachusetts, where it's legal. And I was like, And then I ran out of regular weed. And then I started hitting some of this, and I love it. I love it. It actually has kind of a lift me up to it. This is clean and mean, but my head's not tripping super duper. So I can get some stuff done. I got kind of a crunch time with some things up in the air. Gonna do the big push on some of these projects that I've been talking about for months. You know the deal. You manifest it into just talking about it, but then you got to do the elbow grease. You got to get it up and out. And then you got to not worry about it. You know, you got to do the work, then walk away. And but now I'm right at that point where I'm doing the work. I've been, just turning over all kinds of leaves and shaking so many trees. Looking for a couple new. I just finished one writing project that felt really, really fucking good. I got paid to work on a script, and it was just a lot of fun. I just kind of took a week, and then as I'm taking the week off, I'm not going out, this Corona thing kicks in. And I'm like, oh man, I'm not really touring. I don't have much dates. I've just been cranking around the city right now. I do have some stuff in California coming up. But I'm kind of psyched because we're going to see how this whole Corona thing plays out, man. I don't want to talk about current events. The one thing I will say is that I wish Bernie the best. I think he would be the best president for this country at this time. But at the same time, I'm not going to get too emotionally attached. Politics is tricky, especially on the psyche of me. I'm 47, I do care about the planet, and I do care about, the people underneath me, and, I got a family and all that stuff. But I know that only so much brain power of me, worrying doesn't fucking do anything. It's literally all about the moment and trying to bring your moment up. There's a time to worry. There's definitely a time to worry. But today, I'm just not in that space. And a lot of it was I got up and did a bunch of shit and had to run around. And I had to fix the dishwasher. I finally got that done, which was a huge deal because we had this dishwasher, but it was all fucked up. And so I'm washing all these pots and pans and doing all this shit and, running around doing my thing. And, so the wife was just in my ear about the shit. So there was no peace until that shit was done. But I got it figured out. I was stuck with it, kept cool, kept calm, went through all the videos, had a guy come over. Then he signified that this little thing was the problem. It was the dude that came over and fixed my sink, didn't hook up the pipe right, and so the dishwasher was funky. So all I had to do was get him over there and knock it out. My man Jesus, but he helped me out. And he did it for free because he did it wrong the first time. Oh, man. That's some good coffee. Today I'm at the last cup of this French press, but it is super dark, chocolatey. Right now it's turned to cold coffee. But it was hot coffee, but it's French roast. Now, I'm not the biggest fan. My wife just got a bunch of Fresh Direct and there was one bag of French roast. She thinks I like dark coffee, and I do. I love this. I love this coffee, and I love this cup. But I do like more of a medium roast. But the thing about the French roast is the caffeine really, and it has a lot of, it says cocoa, nutmeg, and bold. And I like cocoa, and I like nutmeg, and I like bold coffee. And it's all of that. So it's just, it's that French roast is like really, really super dark. And I'm on the last cup of it. And it's like the last cup of just full on super lava. But I actually was just worn down and I've been just listening to myself lately. I've been really just listening to how I feel. It's weird doing this podcast because everything that I'm doing is saying talk less, think less, slow down. But, I do a podcast and stand-up, which is all talking and all doing. But I do enjoy doing it. It's a part of me expressing myself freely and openly, and I have to say, man, this CBD flower, I'm going back in, I'm packing the bowl again, because what it does is my overall, it reminds me of just roasting bowls all day, which I always used to love, but as you get older and there's more responsibilities and I got shit going on, I can't be fully tweaked out, reeked out, but there is kind of just, I think it's the ceremony, it's the same as cigarette smoking. Sometimes it's just the ceremony, and then I do think the cannabis plant is just good for my brain. There's a lot of Alzheimer's on my dad's side, and they're all from the South, and I think it had to do with a lot of sugar and a lot of tobacco, and I do think cannabis in soda pop. And I think cannabis and coffee is just a good combo to activate your brain in a certain way. Not all the time. I did meditate for 20 minutes this morning. I've been meditating at night. I've been working in these manifestation mantras that have been dope. And I just really like the general flow of just how I'm going. But today, I'll just say how I listened to myself was I was like, I got to take a nap. I've just been going out at night, dealing with the family, washing pots and pans, my wife works. I've had to make all these dinners. I had to clean up. I had Jesus over here fixing shit. And then I'm writing things. I'm submitting these final tracks for the music project that I have coming out. So it's like, I was just tired. I was just tired, and my body felt it, and my body knew it. And there's all this corona scare, so I was in that kind of achy zone, and then all the fear was kind of getting like, dude, maybe I got corona. Maybe this is how I'm going to go out. This is it. This is the one. I'm going out with this stuff. Fucking jackass Trump, man. I don't know if I'm trying not to demonize anybody. Right and wrong all come from the same place, and it's all a gift at this moment, and it brings you to where you're at standing now, which is trippy, which is a hard concept to get to. Another thing is talking about spirituality. It's the same thing as talking about stand-up comedy. It ends up not being funny. And the thing about talking about spirituality, it's more of a practice, Practice makes perfect. But I don't believe perfect is perfect. I think perfect is you. If you could fully accept who you are at this time. And at this time, I'm a man with a cup of coffee of French roast. And it's not hot, it's cold, but it was hot. And it's just like later in the afternoon, it's the last cup of the French roast. And I took an hour nap. And I really didn't sleep that much. But I rested. I closed my eyes and I tried to turn off my brain, which is, if you know me, this has been the biggest awakening about getting older, which has been really, really fucking cool. Anybody listening out there is like, I've just really have understood like the ego. Thoughts are bullshit. They really are. I mean, for writing jokes, that's great, but it's like, just like the more natural you let things, don't run the machine like, think this, fantasize about that. That's not what it's about. It's about trying to clear it to the point where you can understand where you really want to go, where you really want to be, where you kind of set in place with they call the Tao, or I don't know. That's just I've been listening to. If you want to know what I listen, Lao Tzu. That's what I did my morning stretches, my 5 Tibetan, it's called the Tibetan Rites, which are these like stretches that's supposed to keep your mind healthy and keep you young. If you want to check them out, and they're super simple, and I'm actually at the point where I kind of enjoy doing them. So I did that, but then I was about to do my meditation, and I was like, oh man, I am tired. I'm just going to go fucking sleep. And I've been doing all this stuff, and it's a Thursday. Nobody emails you on Thursday. You got to email everybody on Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday, that's when some work goes down. But with the corona, things are kind of, everybody's like, oh, what's happening? I do have a set tonight. I'm doing a comedy club in Manhattan tonight. But it's a quick in and out, so I'm not really publicizing it that much. It's at the Broadway Comedy Club, which is literally like in Times Square. And sometimes the shows are hit and miss, but I do get a good placement sometimes in terms of just, figuring out the new material, because I had time just going through all my stuff, and I'm going to come out with a new one-man show that I'm excited about. And hopefully come to your town, and we'll have some cannabis and coffee. I'm almost at the point of having some more guests. This whole thing's working, organically, I'm sitting here looking at this Buddha head statue, and it has a snake plant coming out of his head, shooting up out of its brain. But that's kind of like this podcast. Like, I'm doing this from a lav mic right into my phone. I'm doing everything, like uploading it, putting it up, putting the beats on. Eventually, we'll step it up. And I do have a sponsor. who will be named nameless at this time, more behind the scenes cat, but you know who you are. But and then I also have a graphics person that's interested on helping out a little bit. So, please check out my YouTube page, Rob Cantrell YouTube, or type in Cannabis Coffee Hour Podcast on YouTube, and you'll get visuals for this whole thing, which I'm enjoying putting together, and I'm going to build on that. Because um, I always liked the Allman Brothers. I like 60s psychedelic. I like psychedelic rock era. I like, kind of even the artwork. But I remember, like, they used to take overhead projectors and then take, like, water. Overhead projectors meaning, like, they would shoot light from this table, and then this lens would pick it up and then shoot it right forward onto a wall. So it'd be like, okay, class, here's, all the multiplication tables up on the wall, and you look at them and shit, and the teacher can write with erasable marker. But they would do that and put like liquid water, um, water with like food coloring, like yellow, and it would look like tie-dye, and you would run it over the fucking microfiche, like underneath the overhead projector, and people would be like, oh yeah, here they're gonna be playing Shinedown. I don't know if Shinedown I think that's an Allman Brothers shine. Soul Shine is an Allman Brothers song. A really good Allman Brothers song is Soul Shine. It's gonna let my soul shine better than moonshine, better than sunshine, rising on a rainy day. Something like that. Um, but so I kind of enjoy the CBD flower because it tastes like weed. The jar smells like weed. Looks like it is weed. It just doesn't have the psychoactive thing. So I kind of have, but I also kind of get that overall, like, good in my bones type feeling, and just an overall happiness. And this weed kind of wakes you up a little bit. So, yeah, you could sit here and blaze this all night and day and go take the fucking bar exam if you wanted to. You're gonna be fine. You're not gonna be tripping and be like, oh shit, I gotta go over in the corner and stare at this ladybug for an hour and a half, which is also cool. Which sometimes you gotta go off in the corner and look at bugs, or stare at the sky. I love staring at the sky. I was walking by this library, and there was this giant tree, man. This tree must have been because there's a tree that grows in Brooklyn. This tree must have been so fucking old, man. Like, and they chopped it down because like it must have fell like in the road or something. But I mean, I might go take a picture of it. It's whole tree trunk, like they chopped it down, so it's a stump. The stump was like 10 feet wide, or maybe not 10. I would say like 6 feet wide. I'd definitely say 6 feet. Because I remember jumping up, and it's still like 3 feet up in the air. The tree was so fucking big. So the stump is even huge, and the circumference, and you can walk across it. And I was like, holy shit. And I got this, like, people were looking at me weird. But when I see a tree chomp, I just like jumping on it. I like feeling, I do feel trees are heavy, especially ones that grow for like 300 years. Like, they've been absorbing all this energy, and they came from this one little seed. That's what trips me out. And that's when I know how awesome nature is, and life, and so awe-inspiring, and how, that's a miracle. Like something that big and that old that just shoots up into the sky comes from a little seed, and all these random things have to happen for it to fall into the ground, and all this, it has to be just right, and the sun has to hit it. It can't get eaten by a dove or something. And then all of a sudden this motherfucker's up and running. And now there's a city built around it when it used to be loose. Like that tree must have definitely saw some fucking horse-drawn carriages for sure, man. But this French roast is good. Just had some flour. I woke up from a fat nap. I did 20 minutes of meditating, and now I have to say YouTube is my favorite thing in the world. Not my favorite, but it's almost like it's always there. Like you have music videos, you have news, you have everything in on your laptop. You can just shoot around and pick up. Because I just haven't had time for like full-on movies. I should. Um, Coming up really soon, I should do some movie reviews on this thing. Maybe get Doug Benson on, let's go see a movie. He'd be down. I've been doing Doug's podcast for like over 15 years probably. Like I was on some of the very first ones because I've known that cat for a while. But yeah, he was like the beginner of podcasts, and then he just kind of kept it. There's a zenness to that cat, man. Even how stoned he is, like he gets ripped all day long, which is awesome. And he's hilarious, and he is a great joke writer. But yeah, he's always been good to me about those podcasts. So I always enjoyed being on them. Well, so hopefully we'll try to get him on, and then this my friend Zamir, who and then my friend Trey, and I got some interesting guests I have in mind. I have a few people, but mostly I'm just trying to get the rhythm of everything down. But speaking of rhythm, the things I was listening to was I forgot that song, Strange Days Indeed. Nobody told me there would be days like these by John Lennon. And John Lennon is pretty fucking heavy. Like, I don't know, I wasn't a super Beatles freak, but I do have them on my wall. I don't know, over the last 10 years, I've kind of grown to have more of appreciation for them. And then, I think in my 20s, I like the Rolling Stones. They're like, oh, the Stones, nasty, dirt, nasty, switchblade. But then you look back and you kind of, I don't know, the Beatles definitely were on some shit in terms of like four-man harmony, and I think George Harrison's trippy. I think John Lennon, these guys were spiritually like looking for something and getting there. Well, yeah, but that's the whole thing about spiritual. You're already there. The simplest is the most complex. Uh, so I was just playing some of that, and then my mind keeps on going back to Pop Smoke, this rapper that died at 19 from Brooklyn, and it's this hip hop called drill rap, which is really like gritty and grimy, and it's a lot of the same cadence. What I was observing today was everything like how the rap style is with this new rap. Even Drake. Some people flow. There's still that, but what the new generation's tapping into is almost like building a chorus as lyrics. So they'll say some shit like it's a chord. Like they'll just find a refrain and then say it 5 or 7 times. And I've been thinking a lot of this music is like mantras. And it's a lot like whatever you say, you're going to bring on to yourself. So if you say, I'm the best, I'm going to be the best, it doesn't mean you will be the best, but it definitely ups your ante. Or I'm going to be rich, I'm going to really be rich. It doesn't mean you're going to be rich, but in some ways of brain power, I do think it's like electronic mantras. And if you say it enough, eventually this stuff is going to come to you. But I think the same thing with guns and, hard drugs. But, I reserve all judgments of any of this stuff because I do think like authentic beauty and art comes from people being themselves in imperfections. And I'm starting to get my head all around that and not looking at something with judgments and just understanding the vibe and appreciating the vibe. So I appreciate Pop Smoke and I appreciate the music. But I didn't know about it, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know, there's something there. There's something in terms of the energy. There always is, I remember when people hated hip hop. I remember, I listened to hip hop when I was 10 and 11, and it was just like, it wasn't on the radio. It wasn't, people were just like, the older kids would fucking rip on you and call it trash and, even, just terrible stuff. But at the same time, if it's vibing, it's vibing. And I think, that style of music is definitely vibing with everybody on a global scale. I don't know, there's a sense of urgency and there's a certain realness to it, but if you overanalyze shit sometimes, it's whack. You just got to appreciate the authenticity and the moment, and if it's funky, it's funky. Sometimes music, and then 60 years later, you look at it and like, or another cat. What's been really helping me not be as judgmental and understanding is that Lao Tzu stuff, man. I mean, there's a whole audio portion where this dude reads the whole book, and it's just like 110 lessons, and they're just like sayings or mantras or little fables or little parables, and some of them seem really simple, but the more you listen to it, you're like, it's just a lot of, like, you can't have dark without the light. You can't have tall without, it's just like, and it goes over and over and over. And that juxtaposition stuff, man, is such a powerful piece of art. But it has to be, with art, it can't be contrived. You can't force the shit. It's like, you gotta just be in a natural state and kind of let things sit. You gotta put them out there, and then you gotta let the paint dry. And then you're like, yo, this is it. And you don't even know if this is it. But you did some work, and you put a lot of energy and love and careness to it. Or you just let it flow right out. That's the wild thing about it all. I am doing a benefit. I'm doing a fundraiser at the comedy club, The Stand. And I have let's see. You can go to robcantrell.com. I'll have my dates. I'll have some more show dates up there soon. But this fundraiser is really cool and for a good. My friend is putting it together, and he has diabetes, and it's for Juvenile Diabetes Research Fund. Okay? Yeah, 8 o'clock. This is at the Stand Comedy Club. Come to this. This is raising money for an awesome cause. It's on a Tuesday in New York. That's a great club, but that's all I have on the books right this second. I mean, I got some other stuff around the city that I'm going to put up, and then I got these California dates coming in. So I'll get those up. But I want to say thank you for listening. I'm getting some great feedback, and people are asking to be on the podcast, and because it's so low tech and so, just me, I just don't want to be tied to always having a guest and always, so a lot of it's just about, hey, these are the things that I'm incorporating in my life. I do think cannabis should be legal and is becoming legal, and I think it could help the planet and our country. But at the same time, I don't want to make this that political, and I don't want everything tied back to, we're going to talk about cannabis, and sometimes I'm not going to have cannabis. Sometimes I'm just going to have a lot of coffee. Sometimes I'm going to have a boba tea. Sometimes I'm going to have green tea. It's just that moment, I'm trying to capture that moment of reflection, of thinking things through. And what we're going to do is come back with the 1, 2, 3 combination punch. Watch out. Don't go out for lunch. Right now, holy cow, we're stumbling into something fresh, something new. Every day, what are you going to do? Every day, like, I love the idea of stopping the thinking, or just like, you can't stop the thinking, you got to do it. But you can strip it back. You can at least, it's like anything, just fake it till you make it. But eventually, you can like quiet all those thoughts and kind of function right in the moment. I got a guitar pick. I don't know if anybody heard. I listened back to that last episode. I was really kind of spacing out there on the guitar. But sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not. But I need to. That's the new discipline. I've said this over and over and over again. But if I'm not doing this podcast, then I'm editing it and then I'm trying to put it up. I haven't been tweeting it out. It's on my Facebook. But, and I haven't been doing, a lot. I've just been trying to kind of slowly let it germinate, let it do its thing, let it be. And then 1, 2, 3, bam. Let it be, let it be, let it be, oh, let it be. There is a corona, but let it be. Yeah, man, there's like, with the coronavirus, they're trying to control it, and I think in a lot of ways they're doing a great job in terms of, not they are. I mean, I think we are. People are so informed. I mean, I think the internet. That's the only thing about these things is like the hype. You're worried. I worry about the hype, but at the same time, it's like, oh, motherfuckers are dying from this, and they're shutting down all of China. Yeah, it has to be pretty rough. Can't travel to Europe right now. That's cray cray. But what are you gonna do? I can't control it. All I can do is not touch my face, stay indoors, podcast more, write more. So maybe that's just the way I've got to flow with it. And also, I've been doing like I did 2 vitamin C's with an emergency this morning. My ice maker's broken, man. Now I gotta fix that shit. There's always something. You gotta be content. I always try to think of like, oh, if I just get to this thing, I'll be happy. But that's not the trick. The trick is to be happy and then still get to this thing, because a lot of people, sometimes it's just like that. And then you get there and then it's like, oh, it's just another moment, and then it'll pass. Just letting it all happen. Snapping, rapping, get your hands clapping. Yeah, I've been really enjoying doing the music. So I laid down the track. I did the vocals. I went to my man. I got in the booth. I had the lyrics all written out. I threw it down, but it was the first time I threw it down in terms of I'm working on this new song for this album. And it's my beat. I made the beat. The whole thing was like I made the beat, I wrote the lyrics, like everything like completely organic. And then I got like an engineer type guy who lives in Brooklyn, Yanni, shout out Yo Yanni. But he had moved into a new apartment and had like a whole setup to record. So I was like, oh shit, I'll run down. I'll stop by there. So I stopped by. He said, yeah, come through and I'll record it. And so I sent him what I had on GarageBand and he's going to clean that all up. Hopefully. I've never worked with him before. And he's kind of doing it on favor right now. So we'll see. Hopefully this thing blows up. I'll get to cash him out a little bit outside on this thing. But it was just like a friend that's into music, that's been in bands, that helped me record like the final process. And so yeah, I'm working on that, and that was a lot of fun. But I hadn't been in the booth. Like rapping is fun. It really is. But it is like you got to take it serious. But I don't know, this drill rap, this new shit, they just kind of run on choruses. But a lot of it's just how you feel. I think that's the thing, like, in terms of super lyrical, technical, Um, the same thing with stand up with joke writing. Like it does get to a point where it's so mechanical that there's zero emotion to it. And then if you're kind of in the moment and just vibing out, sometimes just even a couple, you, you can portray a billion words with one, just sounds. Think about DMX, just like he can write all the lyrics, but there was the lyrics people connected to, but it was more like the sound. It was just the vibe, and he was being completely himself, expressing, serious frustration, manic depression. That Jimi Hendrix came to my mind. Wow, that's a crazy song, man. Manic depression. God, he's so because that music kind of goes into overthinking and being in your head too much and he talks about traveling and I've been there and you've been there, all of us have been there. And yeah, to portray that into musical form, and that's a concept I don't think 50 years people could even get out. But because of our music, whatever you say, you're expressing an emotion that other people are like, yo, I got that emotion too. I can link into this, you know? That's what I think a lot of like music is. And not even music, even viral videos. It's emotion, and people feel that emotion. But the thing about sometimes you can't be connected to it. You just have to observe it and be like, that's what that is. And then walk away. Because some stuff, like, I never liked, like, fight videos, like people fighting or yelling, or like, what is that shit, man? World Star Hip Hop, where they show like street fights or just like that energy of just that fuck you, blah, blah, and just watching all that. Like, I understand it. People get connected to the emotion because people are so numb. They're numb to it all because of so many distractions that this is like this energy that you can connect to and see something new. But I don't know. But also I shouldn't judge because I don't know, it's like watching horror movies, I remember I went through a horror movie phase, and there is an excitement to be scared, but it's horrific, violent shit that's going on the screen. But I remember when I was like 12 or to like 15, I don't know, it was just like something so scary and so weird and so, the dark arts, yo. Same thing with metal and, this is about the devil. Let's rock. There's almost like, oh, I can't be around this, but oh shit, this is fucking crazy. And it's almost like non-conformity. And I also think it's a little bit of the yin and the yang, if you're brought up with this type of music and then you hear this, and then, that cycle is happening as we move forward and progressing back and forth. And it's moving up to something. Something's the dopest song of all time. When the universe aligns and everybody is at one. But we all are one. Even if you've... I just want to tell all my haters, I love them. I forgive them. I want all the people plotting against me. Even if they are, fuck them. The gig is the gig, man. You just do your gig and walk away, But the more people that become woke, people hate woke, that whole backlash to PC is kind of, like it bounces back and forth, like Bernie and Trump and like, and I see like other people get so fucking tied in. And, there's a lot on the line. I understand it. But I don't know if it's not the best. It's not my job. It's not my gig. I can observe it, though. It is it's strange days, but it's interesting, man. Everything's really interesting because nobody knows it, nobody's ever know where it's all going. Only, the universe or whatever, and I don't even want to talk about that. Like the whole gig is to not even talk about it, because the minute you talk about it, you're not in it. It's like that if you point at the moon, you miss all, you're looking at the pointer. You're looking at the pointer person. You're looking at the guy pointing. You're looking at this finger. You're not observing all of everything he's trying to guide you to. That's what I'm trying to get my head around. When I go do stuff creative, or even just when I'm washing the dishes. There is a zenness to washing dishes. There's a zenness to tying your shoe. There's this nothing. I love making my bed. There's something, and I hated it as a kid, but nowadays it's just like your life is just like like and you're trying to figure it out. But something about cleaning my bed. I don't know if it's OCD or I don't know. I just like it. But I'm not a neat freak. There's crumbs and shit around here. Just picked up some shit over there. This place is a little ruffled. And I took a nap. The bed's not even made. I gotta make the bed right after this podcast. That nap was dope. I feel great. No, I was kind of hurting. I kind of had that. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't the corona. I think it was like the stress of the corona, and just I had went out last night and I had an early morning, and then I had a super early morning today, and then the other day I was burning the candle at both ends, as they say. And I needed to fucking snub that candle and crawl into bed. And I got to do that today. And that was glorious. Amazing. And this coffee is amazing. And I give props to the CBD flower. Like, I guess my new move, and I did it on the last podcast, is get some really good bud, like some crazy, like good, like, I don't know, just, there is like levels of herb, but just have a little bit. Sometimes when you get the crazy good California super funk regulator, you only hit like 4 joints and then you're fucking lost, cross-eyed high, is to get a little bit of that and then sprinkle it, baby, into some CBD flower and just roll like not small. I like joints, I never was I smoked cigarettes for a while, but I hadn't smoked cigarettes since 27, 28. Maybe I smoked a couple. I don't like any rigidity, And that was the other thing about Laozi. It's just like the whole idea of like, I'm a vegetarian, or I never, I had a whole thing like I never did cocaine, or I'll never do cocaine. And I never did. Now it's a little too late. But there was one moment I could have had some, and I look back and I'm like, maybe I should have had, I was like 28. Maybe I should have done it that night just so I know what it is. But I could have maybe not been on this podcast. But the point I'm trying to say is the rigidity. I mean, but you have to know who you are, and I definitely think hard drugs are the worst. But at the same time, there's a time and place for all kinds of shit, and not everything has to be super regulated overlord on everything, You can have a code, definitely have a code, but I think the code is to fucking figure out what you got to do at that moment, And, life is precious and awesome, and awesomely nothing is forever or real. Yeah, you think it's real. That's the trick. Like, you think it's real. The pain makes it feel real. And death definitely makes it feel real when you've been around that energy. I've talked about this before, but my dad died when I was 10. And died suddenly in a car accident. He fell asleep driving a car, which is sad, and I'm giggling because I think it's a mechanism. But I just remember going through that and processing that as a young kid in the years before that with him and how intense it was. He was an intense dude. But good dude. But, I definitely got whipped with a belt. He was from the South. It was the 50s. He was from the 50s. I mean, I was born in 72, so this is like early 80s type shit. But even then, he was kind of, it was never abusive or anything like that. I was just fucked up, and you get your ass whipped, and that was it, man. You didn't cross I had one of those dads you just didn't cross, and everybody knew it. I don't know if that's not me. That's not me. People cross me all the time. But not really. I mean, there is an intensity. Everybody that says that they're chill are actually like not that, it's always that thing. And then it's also like the people that are super dicks are sometimes like some of the cool, like nicest dudes. It's just everything's moment to moment, But I'm glad you shared these moments with me, and I'm enjoying this coffee. And shout out to the French press. Shout out to you. Like and subscribe. Go right now to my YouTube page and check out the visuals on YouTube. We're growing every day. I'm getting a lot of great response. I got some great guests coming up, some new technology, some more funky ass beats. But shout out to French Roast from Fresh Direct. Fresh Direct French Roast. And shout out to CBD Sativa Flower coming through. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed doing this podcast for you. I love you. Be cool, be safe, wash your hands. But don't be afraid to get too dirty. I mean, that's the thing, is like, if you're too clean, then you can't fight off any of this funk. Or whatever, I do not like how the coronavirus looks underneath a microscope. They keep on showing it, and it looks pretty because it's kind of got this red, but there's something, I'm like, there's something to that thing that I'm like, that thing will fuck you up. All right, I hope everybody's safe. I love you. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Peace, Jah, Dharma, God, nothing, muffin, stuffing, gravy. It's all gravy.